So far, we learned about all the types in JavaScript, which are the 7 types. We know how to create all of these types, but we don't know how to access these values, right? So let's take a look. So let's say if I created a string over here, which is let's say Aziz, and hit enter, this is the value. But I can actually store this particular value inside a variable. And to create a variable, we're going to simply do var. Let's say I'm going to call it name is equal to, let's say, any value. So let's say Aziz. So now the string value of Aziz is actually stored in a variable called name. So if I want to access this value anywhere in my program, I can simply say name and I can access that value. So I'm going to clear this and let's learn a little bit more about the object and accessing this different values inside an object. So what I just told you about name is applicable everywhere in all the types. So let's say I'm going to create a user object. So I'm going to call it user and it's going to have a value called name, or let's say full name is equal to Aziz Ali, and comma, it's going to have DOB is 1988. Okay, oops, some kind of error occurred. Let's take a look. Oops, over here I used equal sign. It should be a colon over here like such. And it's good that we got this error because you recognize that it doesn't matter how senior or how junior you are, you will always make mistakes and it's okay. All right, so I write that and I've created this particular object. Now if I clear over here, still the user object exists in our console because as long as we do not refresh the browser, this information is contained in the session. Okay, now moving forward, let's say we have this user object inside our application and we want to access the full name property or the full name key inside that particular object. What do? We can actually simply, let's say, I'm going to minimize this. I'm going to simply do user and then dot and then provide the name of the key, which is also known as property. The key is also called a property. So I can provide, let's say, full name and hit enter, and you see it went to the user object, and then the dot operator says, okay, I'm going to go inside and get the key of full name and get the value. So the value is Aziz Ali in this case. We can do the same thing for user dot, let's say DOB, and the result is 1988. Now let's say if you want to get some information which does not exist. So I'm going to do user dot, let's say city, all right? I hit enter and it says undefined. Remember the undefined data type over here? So in our program, let's say if we are trying to get a value which does not exist at all, which in our case, our user object does not have city, it will say undefined. Interesting, right? But if we defined, let's say a city which was null, then it would say the null value. But in this case, it does not exist altogether. So that is the dot operator that you use. It's called an operator because it acts as a functionality. So it's called a dot operator. There's a similar operator, which is the brackets notation. So I'm going to say, let's say if I want to get the same information, I can use it like this. So I can say user and then provide these brackets like such. And inside these brackets, I can provide a string of the name of the key. So in our case, let's say if I want to get full name, I'm going to write in full name like this and hit enter. And it's going to get me the value, which is exactly the same as writing like such with the dot notation. So this brackets notation and the dot notation will do the same thing. Now the place where this notation, the brackets notation, is helpful is in some cases you actually do not know the name of the, let's say the key, and maybe the key is stored somewhere else. So let's say we're going to create a variable. I'm going to call it a st for string for short, and I'm going to put a value called full name over here. Okay, like this. So st is a variable which has the value of full name. So let's say we are writing a complex program and we have stored the key name inside a variable, so we can actually use the brackets notation like this. So we can say user and then brackets, and I can provide the st over here. So in this case, what st does is the program says, the JavaScript engine says, hey, I don't know what st is. So I'm going to look in my program and see if I know ST. So yeah, ST is full name. So it's going to put full name over here, and user brackets full name is Aziz Ali. So I'm going to hit enter, and yes, we got the value of Aziz Ali. But we cannot do the same thing with the dot notation. I cannot do user.st. In this case, st would be, it'd be looking for the actual key value over there. So if I hit enter, it says, oh, I don't have a st key, so it's undefined. See the difference? So although this one is easier to write, and most of the times we use that in our program, but sometimes we need this particular notation depending on our use case. So that's pretty much it for this video. You recognize how to access values inside an object, and also how we can store multiple kinds of values inside variables. That's pretty much it for this video. I'm going to talk to you in the next video.